Hi guys, Ronnie here and welcome to the workshop. Today I want to talk power meters and maybe the original power meter that started it all. So throughout the years it's been quite a common topic that I get from people and customers also regarding which power meter to choose. I've tried various options over the years from Stages, Quark, and more recently Power to Max, which has been my go-to choice for my own needs and customer bike builds for a while. Here being on my personal bike, you can see probably the most high-end, best version of the Power to Max unit that we have been using. So this is their latest NG-SL power meter, and we pair it with the Cybre cranks. It's a really lightweight, really high-end option. 24mm titanium spindle, compatible with any Shimano bottom bracket without any changes. Very stiff crank arms and the best, most reliable power measurement on the market. Probably one of the best. Anyway. And certainly one of the lightest versions as well. But from customer demand and also my own curiosity, I was starting to look at the other way as well. And even more so now that the prices really from SRM has started to go down a little bit, and now it's much more in line with a combination like this. And this leads me to the SRM PM9 that we have here. And you don't really see that much information on this over the internet, I think partly because of the price. So let's have a look what you're actually getting apart from the fancy packaging, of course, that you can see here. So just like the Power to Max, this is a unit that's entirely made in Germany. And this is the top of the line variant with the lightest crank option. So actually, they do have a ton of crank options and spindle options. I would argue that even too many, with some more being released as we speak and for the next season, which I'm also quite excited about, particularly about the Aero version. So for now, here we have the lightweight version for road bikes. The options for spindles are various. This one is the lightest, so it's the Dub titanium spindle. For a very small weight penalty and for a huge cost saving, you can also have the Dub spindle in an aluminum version, which I think is the reasonable choice. Obviously, if you want the best of the best, then you need this one. The crank here is the THM, so that's a super light design, one that has been offered with SRM for quite a long time now. And yeah, the construction here, and I think the good thing about the SRM system is that it's fully modular. So SRM offer a range of spindles. As I said, you have various lengths for track and road use, various diameters, 24 mil, 29 mil dub, like this one, 30 mil even. And then the spider is just a part that sits in there, and you can also on this variant see the lock ring where it attaches. You've also got crank arm options from Cybre themselves, which are also some of the not quite as light as the THM, also not quite as expensive. So yeah, there's a huge amount of options, and if you have the spider itself already, then you can always combine this with every other option really, because the interface is always the same. The PM9 now luckily has all the modern features that you would expect from a power meter, so temperature compensation, automatic zero offsets, internal rechargeable battery with a nice long charge cable with a magnetic insert and clip, so that's really an excellent choice, I think. Power to Max also use a similar design, but the wire there for charging is quite finicky and small, so this one is a nice improvement on that. What you also get The package is obviously a set of spacers, although I imagine not many will be needed with this DUP setup. And then you have the non-drive side crank. And what I particularly like about this system is the way that the bottom bracket is preloaded. It really is quite clever. So here you can have a better look at the non-drive side THM crank. It really is quite an exquisite piece of kit. One thing I'm not so sure about regarding the function is this cutaway at the back end of the thread. Maybe it's just to shave some weight from the aluminum insert. And what also is quite unique is this interface, which is reminiscent of high-end stem clamps that coincidentally THM and other brands also use with their offerings. So I was talking about the preload of the bottom bracket, and with this system you actually don't need a preload ring, because as you can see this spline is machined quite deep inside. It's actually quite reminiscent of the Shimano Holodeck system, where the non-drive side crank can slide on the spindle in this fashion, and then you basically just adjust the preload via the preload cap in the end, which pushes the non-drive side crank towards the bearings. You make it just so, and then you fix the position using the clamp bolts. So really clever, really lightweight, minimalistic and reliable way of setting preload, and you don't need those, or at least too many of those finicky spacers or preload rings. So that's something I really like. And yeah, in case you change your crank lengths, you can basically keep all of the other components. All you really need to do is change the crank arms. As I said, they have tons of different options. This one is a standard 175mm, so it's rather traditional, but this will work for a tall rider, which this one is going to. But they go all the way down to 160, and they even have the Look Trilobe adjustable crank arms available in case you're not sure. Recently there's also been a modular crank system, really similar to the watch shop crank, where you can change the length by end tips. They also have a dedicated fitting crank, so really just a huge amount of options, and allegedly at least a perfectly reliable and precise power meter, fully made in Germany. So yeah, that's more or less the SRM system covered. We have more units coming from the Aero version, which likely will be the most interesting version, I think, at least in my book, with a similar design with a narrower Q-factor Aero crank. If you want that already, then Watch Shop also make crank arms for this system. We already work with those. They work really well and yeah, perfectly integrate with the SRM. So there you have it, SRM crank system, power meter system. One of the go-to options now in my book. Between one of these, I'll be getting, as I said, one of these versions for my own bike as well for future testing, maybe some power comparisons, and we'll see how it goes. So if you're interested in seeing more of that in the future, stay tuned and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.